Welcome to Technovation. I'm your host, Peter High. My guest today is Praveen Jonnala. Praveen is the Chief Information Officer of CommScope, a $9 billion revenue global infrastructure company. He's held that post for a little less than a year, and he's been with the company for a bit more than 13 years, having seen the company more than quadruple in size across his tenure. Praveen has led a remarkable digital and cultural transformation of the IT organization, pushing his department to be a driver of revenue, a source of speed and nimbleness, while instituting a service-based model. I look forward to covering all the above and more with him during this conversation. Praveen, welcome to Technovation.
Thanks, Peter. It's great to be with you.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Well, Praveen, you are the Chief Information Officer of CommScope, and I thought we'd begin with just a brief overview in your own words of CommScope's business. Could you provide that, please?
Absolutely. CommScope is a global infrastructure company, and we take pride in literally connecting the globe with the digital thread, if you put it that way. For us, the main purpose, Peter, is creating lasting connections. And if you look at the pandemic, what it really put in front of us, a bigger challenge of connecting and collaborating people. And we are the company, we take pride and come to work every day in connecting people, connecting communities, connecting economies in a way, in a larger sense, and make this, a larger digital machine moving for everybody. So we are a global company, as I said, and we operate, 50 plus countries. We serve from telcos to cloud companies to consumers in many different products, and we are really trying to move the needle in the connectivity space with 5G coming into play, and how could we really transform our customers and with those technologies. But for me, I think coming to work every day is looking at that North Star about how could we bring people together and minimize this digital divide between communities and at a global scale. So I think that's the core of CommScope.
A great overview. Thank you, Praveen. I wanted to also ask you how IT itself is structured. You are the Chief Information Officer, have been for about 9 months now, nearly a year. You've been with the company for 13 plus now. Talk a bit about how IT is organized within CommScope, please.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Peter. I couldn't ask for a better time to be a technology leader, right? In what's going on at every company, technology underpins every aspect of the business. Whether people they realize it or not, but I think because of the pandemic now, it's being accelerated. People see the value and the need of technology driving the business goals. So coming to CommScope IT, as you said, I took over this role about 9 months ago, and after I took over the role, we looked at really, try to understand, what is the purpose of IT in the company. And why do we come to work every day? Typically a lot of IT organizations, they think about technology. Absolutely, we are the group of technology. We need to understand and learn technology. But really, what we kind of went back and soul searching a little bit and said, what is our purpose and how could we align with our company's purpose? And if our goal is as a company, as I said, we are creating these lasting connections, connecting, companies and our consumers at a global scale, how could we be part of that mission? And how could we take pride in enabling that? So looking at that, we said, IT, I look at the two stacks of responsibilities, Peter. One, which I call table stakes, which is you keep the lights on, running your data centers, securing the company, and delivering projects to the business. But the second one, which is most exciting and important for us and to me, is how could we become one with the business? And how could we understand, before even business sense certain opportunities and problems, and how could be a technology group, we could sense those proactively and try to solve those problems for the business. Because IT is an interesting place where we get to see how the business runs and comes together. Because there's not a single function in the company. They have that grasp and breadth of how the business runs. I think we just have to focus. We have to build those relationships and partnerships. More importantly, I think having that empathy of IT trying to understand and feel the pain of the business, of your customer. So I think that's our core foundation of building an IT organization. I think so. We took an approach of building the service verticals in IT. I have leaders facing corporate functions, sales, supply chain, and our business units. So their entire goal is to make sure, understand where that function is heading, how IT can have a seat at the table, and give them not only what they need, but also understand their challenges and proactively bring IT to the table to solve those business problems.
That's a great overview, Praveen. Thank you for that. I'd love to dive into it a little bit further. I know from your background and our past conversations that you spent time in product development and supply chain and different manufacturing disciplines, both at CommScope as well as in prior posts in your career. And I wonder to what extent is the diversity of experiences that you've had, not solely working within IT departments and climbing a single ladder, how that's impacted the way in which you've thought about how best to organize IT, as well as the value that IT can drive for the company.
Yeah, no, great question, Peter. For me, I was very fortunate to spend time in different business functions. As I said, by core, I'm an engineer, started with the product development and moved into supply chain, and then eventually ended up in IT. By working in different functions within the business, it gives you a great appreciation of your customer, right? What at the end of the day, as a company, what are you trying to do and how you're able to solve your customer problems? I think that is a greater learning for me over the years to always look at through a business lens. Absolutely, you have tools at your disposal if you're a technology group or if you're a different group, you bring those strengths to the table, but collectively you put those together again to go solve the business problems or customer problems. So I think having that empathy, I think that's what I touched on the empathy earlier, is being in a technology group. It's easy to carry it away with technology every day because technology changes at the speed of light. But how could you be grounded to understand and stay close with the business? I think that's probably, I don't say it's an issue with an IT group. Sometimes, it's a gap where they don't realize that, where we should really focus. So that's what I think when I looked at an IT group, I always wanted IT being front and center of the business. Because technology can do so much, and we can help to drive business strategy and growth. Not to tell business what to do, but I think we really can really be there with them, and then help them to get there where they want to get to.
And how much of a cultural change is that required, Praveen? Oftentimes it's, the different behaviors of the team itself that need to change in order to bring this to life. And that can be very difficult at times if people are set in their ways or crave their routines. Talk a bit about how you thought about that, please.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question, Peter. That's the biggest challenge, any leader will have in any organization, whether it's IT or business functions, when you try to shift the mindsets, shift the focus towards what is important versus what you used to do. And when we looked at within IT, we had I'm really humbled and privileged to lead this great team at CommScope, right? They have done tremendous things in a growing company from a $2 billion company to a $10 billion company. They were absolutely part of that growth. They're absolutely driven that growth. But the time of the moment where we are here, I think it's important for us to bring those strengths to the table, but also try to look at, where are we heading and how to change ourselves, our DNA, so to speak. When I looked at that, right, the culture aspects, there are 5 key things for me, which I'm trying to drive with my team, Peter. The one, how could we become a business leader, but not a business support unit? That means, it comes with, how could we have a better business engagement, business partnership, and have a lean structure to reduce the layers? And ultimately, how could we have a tight alignment and really own the business goals in a way, right? It's not that you have your own IT goals, but you absolutely align with the business. The second thing is, how could we bring efficiencies in the company? That's a primary function of IT. And a lot of times, leaders think, you can bring a lot of savings within IT, but the bigger picture is you could bring automation, you could bring data insights to the business leaders so that they could bring efficiencies within their function. So efficiency is a bigger piece. The third thing is, the big one is, as you kind of a core question is, transforming the IT culture, which is, what I'm telling my team is empathy and humility as our core competencies. Let's have them so that, that would set the path for us. Once we start listening, once we start understanding where the business is heading, I think that will teach us a ton of things and we could keep in the direction. And how could we co-create the business value? And that's very important. The fourth thing is speed, Peter. I think now, for any company, if there is a single most differentiator, which is speed. If you don't have a speed to the market, if you don't serve your customers, quick enough, then you're not going to be in the business, no matter how great product you have. So that's another thing to use, agile methodologies and the different ways of delivering projects, but speed is very important. And the last thing is growing the revenue, right? A lot of times IT people think, we are kind of a side function, how could we grow the revenue? But we're looking at, opportunities where, if our business is heading to different markets, can we look at digital channels to drive growth? If we have a ton of demand right now as we speak, there is a huge backlog for us because of the demand. And how could we help our supply chain and factories to expand faster so that we could drive that growth and bring the revenue in? So looking at a different lens of growing the business will change the fundamental thinking of IT, that I'm not a cost center, I'm not a service function, but I'm more part of the business.
A great overview. Again, thank you so much for sharing each of those, Praveen. I want to dig into maybe one or two of them. This topic of speed is the biggest differentiator for businesses. I wonder, what are some of the levers that determine that from your perspective? What are some of the processes or methods that you've instituted in order to foster greater levels of speed?
Yeah, no, absolutely, Peter. I think for IT, traditionally we try to do some large waterfall-driven programs or projects, whether it's an M&A, whether it's other things we do. But now the business is facing challenges every day through whether your supply chain constraints in the market, or how could you serve your customer better. So what we're looking at is maybe 2 or 3 core fundamental things. The one, how can we have an agile way of delivering solutions to the business? Partner with the business, look at incremental value creation than creating a value at once, so that you be there and then adjust your offerings as the business changes. So being agile, being with the business, and co-create the business value together is the one. That's a fundamental. The second is, as I said, as the technology is bringing so many opportunities. I can give an example. When the whole logistics is facing tremendous stress through the pandemic, and we are a company, we make products, we ship products globally. And when the Suez Canal, issue happened a few months ago, all the vessels stuck in the canal and you cannot ship the product. And as a technology group, we should start thinking, how to bring those insights to our business leaders, how much product is stuck in that canal, and which customers impacted, how much revenue is on the line, and what other opportunities you have. So that's the insights we need to bring it to the leaders, not to wait until really the business comes and asks you, hey, it is what I need. So be there with the business, and then create those challenges as opportunities and provide the insights. The last thing is, we're also looking at, now every product is becoming digitized. And, we are a company, we are a tech company, we do hardware, software to serve our customers. But as the needs evolve, or customer needs evolve, and how could we as an IT group bring our strength of software, strength of building iterative solutions to our product teams and help them to scale and help them to reach our customers faster and build those solutions. So I think those are the 3-pronged approach we're taking is, being agile, incremental value, provide insights to the business, and then be there and help the business to scale in software.
Excellent. And I really like you concluded the overview with the fact that IT departments need to help grow revenue, yours in particular. And that's not, as you make the great point, that's not traditionally been the domain of IT organizations. And again, a cultural change, I'm sure, is the one that you described is a great benefit to this. But I wonder if you could talk a bit about some of the ways in which you do so. And if you have examples of how IT is helping grow revenue across the organization, that would be helpful to hear as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Peter. As part of CommScope Next initiative, driven by our CEO Chuck Treadway, we are, as an IT group, we are trying to be there and drive that strategy for the company. And one of the core pillars of that strategy is grow the business. CommScope historically as a business, we've grown through mergers and acquisitions. Now, and as I said, Chuck is trying to drive organic growth for the company. We're looking at the markets. We've been there before, and we're trying to touch the customers. We haven't thought about it. So, but all of those globally, when you try to do, we are looking at opportunities where every customer in different geographies has different needs. And now with the pandemic, everybody demanding touchless, remote aspect of interacting with us. So we are double dipping on our technology and then saying, here is how we're going to go open digital channels if we're going to Asia Pac, where the customers are more geographically dispersed, and then we can't put boots on the ground of Salesforce. So we are looking at how to do that. And also as a business, we're a distributor-driven company for a lot of our products. So how could we have a better digital channels to really empower our distributors to sell more of our products? So these are all in works, Peter. I think as we continue to execute CommScope Next, I think we are fundamentally trying to reshape the business with technology and how could we serve our customers better.
Part of what you are alluding to, I believe, also in the transformation that you've made within the IT organization of CommScope, Praveen, is this change in operating model from a traditional project-centric scope to more of a service or product-based operating model. Can you talk a bit about that migration and the value that that's derived as well?
Yeah, no, absolutely, Peter. I think as an IT group, we at the end of the day, we deliver solutions. There's no doubt. We have to do projects and programs. But the approach we took, where we were versus where we are today is, we are now working with the business to understand, what value we can create by doing any programs or projects, but more look at as a product or service-oriented approach. That means, complete total cost of ownership. If you're going to put something in front of the business, what is the value it's driving for the business? And how can we take that not only just a one-time delivery, but continuously evolve that product based on the business changes? So that way, we treat it as a more like a running IT like a business, instead of taking an order and just deliver something to the business and move on to the next thing, versus you stay close with the business and trying to provide that service, that capability as the business evolves. I think that's a fundamental change on how we used to do things versus where we are today.
I wanted to also ask you, Praveen, as you look to the future, what trends particularly excite you? Which ones are starting to make their way onto your roadmap, for example?
Yeah, no, I think being a technology group, Peter, I think that there are a lot of things at our disposal, right? But if I could pick on a few things again, which could really drive the business outcomes, not because of technologies available we wanted to use, data is fundamental. I think what we're trying to do at our company, making sure that we bring data to the forefront and democratize the data within the business. And then you could use AI and ML capabilities to provide those deeper insights, the rich insights to the business, so that they could run the business better. So I'm truly excited with the opportunities, how data can really unleash the opportunities within the company and our customers. So I think that's one area. The second is in automation. Using RPA, robotic process automation as a software capability to drive automation. Also, as well, if you look at our factories, how could we automate a lot of the factory automation as part of the manufacturing 4.0. So that's another great opportunity in front of us. And to extend that, the mixed reality, given the pandemic we have, in the past we used to send engineers to go install machinery across our factories. So now with the pandemic, we're using HoloLens and different technologies. So somebody sitting in Chicago can talk to somebody sitting in China to install an equipment remotely using the mixed reality. So that's fantastic. Lastly, 5G, Peter. I think 5G is going to fundamentally change how we operate as companies because, as I said, connectivity is going to drive a lot of business models going forward, how to reach your customers. A lot of these cloud companies, how can they take data and then mine the data and provide the insight? It all hinges on the seamless connectivity. And I think 5G is going to open up, tremendous opportunities. And we as a company, as CommScope, we are in the driver's seat of, pushing the technology and making it available to our customers. So I think these are the few things I'm really excited in terms of, what's coming.
Praveen Jonnala, thank you so much for joining me on Technovation today, sharing a bit about your vision of the future, as well as this remarkable transformation that you've led at CommScope within the IT organization and across the company more generally speaking. It's been a great conversation.
No, pleasure to be here, Peter. Thanks for the opportunity.